Today I had the pleasure of speaking with Tristan Ross. For those of you who aren't familiar with Tristan, he's the infamous wunderkind who by 20 years old achieved the status of being the #1 salesman at the national organization, the Shield Co. He's a business owner, real estate investor, and a stock trader in his free time. This kid's passion for life is impossible to miss. And when he flew in from Utah, we had a ton of fun shooting this podcast. I think you guys are going to really enjoy this one. The story that you told me about coming up, you had a ton of hurdles. Mm-hmm. Like you had a ton of hurdles. You didn't have advantages at all, right? And by your age to be where you are, I want people to hear you talk about it. Like I want people where 100%. I'm from to hear you talk about it, so that they know that it exists and that it's real, and you're sitting here, right? Mm-hmm. So that's my personal reason why I really wanted you to sit down, because I know a ton of people that from your situation.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. So I guess to start on that, in this day and age, I learned at a very young age that I was not interested in going to college, which was a big thing for me, because it's like I feel like a lot of young people, they don't know what they want, which is also like one thing that set me apart. Since I was 11 or 12, I've been hustling. Like I was knocking doors when I was 10 years old, and I would what I'd do is I'd knock the door and I'd say, hey, I don't know. I'm sure they have in Detroit, the window wells on the side of the home where the leaves fall in. Yeah. And Utah, I'd knock doors after school and say, hey, I'll clean out all your window wells. Just pay me whatever. No pitch. That's my pitch. I'm cleaning windows. And people don't want to get in there and pull all those leaves. And I'm a kid, My parents, and the reason I started doing that, I started in third grade. So I was 10, 11 at that time. I was pretty young. But the reason I started doing that is, this is the first real taste I ever got of wanting, becoming hungry. Cause when you're 6, 7, 8, you're just enjoying life. You don't think about these things. But when I turned 10 and 11, my parents at times, did well, but there was times where I didn't know if we were going to get evicted out of our home or whatnot. So when I was 10 or 11, I'd be like, hey mom, me and my friends are going to go do this. Can I have a few dollars to get food or whatever it is? You're a kid. You always ask your parents for change when you're going to do something. And the answer is always, we don't have anything to give you. So my dad, when I was in 10th grade, he's like, hey, why don't you knock on doors and provide services to people? You're a kid, you have energy. A lot of people don't want to mow their lawn or pick their weeds. So I do that type of stuff too. It wasn't just window wells. That's kind of what I leaned heavily on. Cause in Utah, it's that worked really well for me. Cause no one, like I said, no one wants to get in there and do that crap. It's dirty work.
It makes sense. It's really muddy down there too.
So, and yeah, when I'm a kid, it's I'm 10 years old. People see me doing this. I was making $100, $200 a day when I was 10 years old, which was so at a young age, I already got.
What were you doing? What were you doing with that money? What were you doing with that money at 10 years old?
I started putting it into the reptiles. Yeah, this reptile thing has been going on for 10 years. It's been so I most of the money when you're a kid, I'm sure I spent a lot of it on basketball tickets and food and whatnot, just to do stuff. But I never was given anything from my parents, which at the time really upset me, because especially when I moved to Utah. When I grew up in California, no one around me had anything. We didn't have anything. We were happy to kick, we were playing dice in the street, whatever, marbles. Yeah. But when I moved to Utah, a lot of kids around me were pretty privileged. And so, I'm young. I don't understand. I'm why, how come all these guys, I'm asking my parents and, thankfully though, that's the best thing that ever happened to me, because it kind of made me as hungry as I was. But so at, 10, 11 years old, my dad's look, you got to man up and you got to work. You don't just get handed money in life. So I started doing the window wells, and that went on for years, because I can't go get a job when I'm, 12. So I did that. And then the gecko thing really started kicking off when I was 14. I was making, when I was probably 14, 15, I was probably making 35 to 50K a year off of the gecko. I was really pumping that as much as I could. Wow. So, before I was even 16, I've already had a big taste of making a lot of money and whatnot. And so at that time, that's when I really knew I didn't want to go to college, because when I was 14, I started listening to Ty Lopez, Gary Vee. I started listening to Gary Vee when he was a few thousand followers, just because I was attracted to those types of guys. There's a lot of influencers, but you click on one video on YouTube and you can be in a dark hole for 12 hours just watching the same stuff over and over. Yep. Uh-huh. And so I'm 14, and I've never been one of those kids who sits in the chair and listens. I'm I like to get hands on, which is why I love doing door to door. So it was hard for me to focus. I didn't really care. And I'm in high school and they're doing all these math equations, all this stuff. I'm like, dude, this is not me. Like I'm never going to use any of this stuff. Like I want to create something and to own it and kind of do my own thing. I was never interested in working for anybody my whole life. So sorry, dude.
No, you're good. That's young Tristan. So I think you got so far to the point where you're like 15, 16 years old, making 35, what do you say, 35 to 50K? Is that what you said?
When I was 15, I was probably making about 30, 40K.
30, 40, okay.
Yeah.
So man, talk to me about like the next step for you. I know your story starts at 17 where, I had the chance to know your name, right? But what happened between there and 17?
Yeah, a lot happened. That's really when I kind of grew up really quickly. So I dropped out of high school, right? It doesn't really matter. I was around the age of 16. I don't know if it was right before I was 16, right after I was around that age. A lot of guys will drop out of high school when they're, a senior or a junior, and you're already so far to the finish line. So like, this is how much I was preempting these things. Like I really, really knew I didn't want to go to college. And, I went to my mom. I'm like, hey, I'm dropping out of high school. And she's like, no, you're crazy. No, you're not. And I did. And, she didn't even know I dropped out for like 3 months because what I'd do is I'd wake up in the morning with my bag and I'd go to work. Yeah, because I got a job at the movie theater. So every time she thought I was at school, I was putting in a double shift in the movie theater. And eventually she caught on. And then I'm like, Mom, I'm not going back to school. I'm making this in the movie theater. I'm doing my gecko thing. Like, she didn't like it at all. So she's like, okay, well, you have to get a GED. Right? Okay. So I said, okay, whatever, I'll get a GED. I never did, but I was like, okay, whatever, I'll get a GED. And but dude, while all this is going on, like when I was 16, 17 years old, I remember like telling my mom when I was 16 and I dropped out, I remember telling her in 5 years, Mom, I'll be a millionaire in 5 years. I promise when I'm 21 on everything. Like there's a video, she recorded me saying that. And
let's go. I want that video.
I'll send the clip to you. She has it on her phone because it's like crazy because, that's my main goal. Like I'm really close to doing that. So I have 13 months to do that, which if I don't, then I did something wrong along this year. But so.
You got it.
But my mom knew me, she knew that I was a little different. So she's like, okay, like you've already not been going to school for a while, but she was okay with me getting a GED, which, I didn't do that, but that's what she thought I was going to do. So I'm working at the movie theater. Dude, that place was the worst job I ever had, but it really taught me how to work. Because I came in and they hired me under the table. I was so hungry to work. So I was applying at jobs when I was 14. You have to be 16 legally in Utah. So I'm 15.
Yep. And I remember this dilemma myself.
Yep. So I'm 15. They're like, hey, look, they needed workers. Like no one wants to do concessions in a movie theater. It sucks. They're paying me $7 an hour. And they're like, hey, look, you turn 16 in a few months. We won't finalize a lot of this stuff, and you'll just kind of get paid, under the table. Okay. And then a few months later, they got me.
Did you know the person before? So the person you started working for, did you know them beforehand, or did you actually go in there and apply for the job?
I went in there and applied.
So you're too young for the job. How'd that go down? How was that? How was that situation?
So they ended up, I finessed my way all the way to like the trainings. And then that's when they found out I wasn't old enough. Like I was really, cause I knew that was going to be a big hurdle. So after I'd been through all the trainings, they're like, well, this guy knows what to do. He seems like a good worker. Like you might as well just pay him cash. Cause I was like, I'm like, look, cause they're like, no, just come back in 3 or 4 months. I'm like, no. You don't understand. Like I need this and I'll work hard on anyone you have. And they're like, okay, well, you start right now. You start today. And I was like, okay. So I started that day. I worked there for like 8 months, but they worked me like a dog. But they'd have me do shit that like the whole movie theater would have this grease funnel at the bottom of the movie theater. Like it was almost underground. I had to go to stairs to get to it. And all the grease from the whole movie theater would go to this big filter at the bottom, and it took like 6 or 7 hours to clean it. And they'd have me do that like 3 times a week, and I'd have to go in with a mask. And I'm 16, and so I was doing like crazy dirty work. Wow. So anyways, I ended up quitting that job because I'm like, okay, I find out I'm getting screwed. I'm getting like $7 an hour. All my buddies are getting $10 an hour to work at McDonald's. I'm like, this is stupid. So I go work at another restaurant, and I was there for like 2 years almost. And that's when I first came out to Eco Show, I just turned 18. So when I heard about it, I was 17, and I just got out there. I was 18, and sorry, I skipped along a little bit. So when I was working at the restaurant, everything was going good, but I knew, at that time, actually, there's a few things I skipped. There's a lot of things. So
first of all, what I'm curious about. So you went from that movie theater where you were too young to work there. You finessed your way in. They had you cleaning everything at the bottom. I don't even know if I can imagine what this grease pile actually looked like. I'm not sure what that is from concessions or from
big mop, and I had these gloves, and I looked like I was doing surgery. Like that's how I was dressed.
So from that situation, this 2 years, how what were you doing at the restaurant for 2 years?
I was a manager. So when I got hired, I became a manager quickly within a month.
At 16?
Yep, 16. I became the manager within a month. Dude, I was working 90 hours a week for almost 2 years. So my shifts were normally like 7 or 8 a.m. to normally 11 p.m. Monday through Saturday because the restaurant was closed on Sunday. So I was making a lot of overtime. I was making really good money for being 17. Because I was still doing my gecko thing, and then I was making about 30 to 40K also. Okay. So at this time, ballpark, I'm making around 60 grand, whatever, as I'm 16 years old.
Okay, I want to stop you there before we go past this point in life, because this is really a question that I have. So why? Right? You talked about earlier on your parents didn't have money for things, and you started working. At this point, you're working 90 hours a week and you're 16. What was your driving force?
A few things. First off, I'm really attracted to cars, the bright lights, all these things that I never had. And, I was like, dude, I can get whatever I want if I put my mind to it. So, I'd work insane amount of hours cause I'm like, I want to get these cars. But to be honest with you, about half the time I worked at the restaurant, because throughout my childhood, we were, as a family, didn't have a lot to go on. So the reason I started working so many hours is to pay our rent, or not our rent, our mortgage, my family's mortgage, not rent. So I'm 17, paying like a $3,000 mortgage, helping out my parents. Cause at this time my dad is having a lot of health issues. He's in and out of work cause he can't work. A few years before he was doing a lot better. And then, things happened, appendix, stuff like that. So he got out of work for a while, and I have 6 little brothers. So there's a lot of pressure on me. I'm like, okay. And a lot of my brothers are pretty younger too. And so I felt like I was out of high school. I matured pretty quickly compared to a lot of kids my ages, because things I'd been through at early ages. So at that time, I'm like, look, I kind of felt the need to provide. So I'm doing that. Everything's going well. And it gets to a point, after close to 2 years of that much, just day in, day out, the same amount of work, I'm like, I really found my worth. I was like, I'm working so hard, and I'm making decent money for my age, but I'm like, if I put this much effort anywhere else, I'll be making more money. So I started looking at like car sales jobs on like Craigslist and whatnot. And this guy comes in to our restaurant. He actually gets hired, and he's the guy who told me about EcoShield. It's the funniest story ever. This guy is Carly Burgos. He had an amazing first 2 months. Our rookie year, he sold like almost 200 accounts in 2 months. Then he quit. He was the number one rookie when he decided to go home. He had a ton of family crap going on in Colombia, so he's just like, okay, this is not my biggest priority, because he had a lot of crazy family stuff, so he just hung that up. But so he gets hired at the restaurant, and he's like, hey, so I'm quitting in 2 weeks. This is his first day. I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, I need to save up enough money in the next 2 weeks to get to Miami, because when I get to Miami, I'm going to become a millionaire off of pest control. This is what he says for me, word for word. And I said, first thing I'm thinking, what do you mean? So he starts kind of telling me about it, and he doesn't know a whole lot about it because he's a rookie going into it. He's like, well, we do this and this and this and this, and I'm going to get rich. And automatically I'm thinking this is a scam.
For sure.
Yeah, it's but I was very intrigued. I was, like a lot of young people are, because he's telling me the potential and whatnot. And I'm thinking to myself, because I've only been I was born in Southern California. I moved to Salt Lake, and those are the two places I've only been my whole life. I never had a vacation my whole life because, you know, we didn't have any money to go on a vacation.
Same.
There you go. So it's funny that we actually say that because Doug all the time is always like, hey, how many times have you been to Mexico? Like, is this your, like, how many times have you been to Hawaii? I'm like, Doug, like every trip I go on with EcoShield is a first for me, Doug.
Freaking love it. Yep. Been through the same experience myself. Yep.
So, but back to what I was saying, it's like that makes you who you are. You know, I felt like I had a lot of peers that were spoiled. Friends, you know, it is what it is. It's, you know, if your parents have a lot of money, you're going to grow up differently. And those kids I see now have no ambition because they were just their whole life silver spoon. So that's what really I'm grateful for now. So I find Carly Burgos as manager, which was Michael Davis. And Michael Davis was going in as a rookie. He's already done door-to-door, but he was going in as a rookie. So he gives me Chaz Wright's information or his phone number.
Okay.
I'm reaching out to Chaz, and I could tell from talking to him, he didn't want anything to do with me. He's like, okay, like you dropped out of high school, you work at a restaurant, you've never done sales, you just turned 18. A lot of red flags. Like, and all I could say to him, he's like, well, what could you say to me as far as resume? I'm like, dude, I have no resume, but I'll work harder than any guy on your team. I promise you. And basically, long story short, that phone call ended, and I'm like, okay, I'm not getting hired. Like, just the whole vibe of that. Like, he was a cool guy, but he was business, and I'm like, yeah, I don't think. So I ended up calling him again, and we talked again, and then at that point, I was just like, look, man, like, I'll give it everything I got. Like, you know, let me come out there. And so he's like, okay, you know, they sent me the DocuSign. I signed it. This is in the middle of May.
Okay.
This is in the middle of May.
So the knocking season, for those of you guys listening, starts May 1st. So
yeah. So I get to Florida. My first day knocking was like the 15th or 16th or something of May. When I got to Florida, I thought I was going to get handed a box of Raid. And I was going to be selling cans of pest control.
That's what you visualized. Yeah. So you had no prep.
I had no prep. I had no idea. Like when I got there and they're like, this is a service. We have technicians. I'm like, what is going on? Like, what can I show the customer that I'm selling? They're like, it's not a product. It's a service. I'm like, at that point, I was just so like, oh my gosh, like so underprepared, man. So I go out my first day. Worst day of my life.
Do you remember the first door? What'd you do?
Oh, yeah. Boyd will tell you too. My first door ever. So I knocked like 2 doors with Boyd, my first 2 doors ever. He pitched them. They were like both renters. So they didn't go anywhere. They were just like quick pitches. They were cool, but they're renters. Like you can't.
Yeah.
So my first door, so Boyd knocks 2, then we switched to me. Blonde, white, middle-aged woman answers the door, snappy. And dude, I have no idea what I'm saying. And I'm like, hey, so we're doing pest control. And she's like, I have a guy. I'm like, who do you use? And she screams at me. She's like, that's none of your effing business. And she slams the door. And that's my first door ever. And I look at Boyd. I'm like, and Boyd's like, yeah, man, good luck. Like,
that was it?
Yeah.
Wait, that was it? Did you get any more knocking?
No, he left. So
yes.
So he left. I'm in this neighborhood, dude. And I'm like, okay, I just drove 3,000 miles to Florida. I was 2 feet in, dude. I'm like, okay, I can't turn around. So I go the whole day in that same neighborhood. I knock like 200 doors, it felt like. I had, and what the good part of it was there was a lot of bugs. So I'm like, okay, I see the potential of this job, but I didn't even have a pitch. I was like, hey, I'm selling pest control.
Yeah.
Do you guys have pest control? That was my pitch, my first day. And so I didn't get any sales. I bageled. And I remember sitting there waiting for them to pick me up that night. Michael, dude, so much is going through my head. I'm like, what have I done? I just left a decent job that was making good money at the restaurant. Like I put my geckos on hold. Like I sacrificed a lot to get here. You know, I was dating my girlfriend at the time, so I left her to go do that. Like I left everything back because I heard about this opportunity. I'm like, dude, for me, I was very interested to go to Florida because I'd never been to the East Coast at all. Like I've never been any further west than Utah. Okay. So I'm like, okay, if I go to Florida, this is going to be a new experience for me and I get to learn to do sales. And my whole mindset was like, dude, if I can come back with 10 or 15, like I had my sights really low because I didn't know anything. Like I'm like, if I can make 10 or 15, I'll be stoked. And after my first day, oh my gosh, man, the emotions. It was the worst day of my life. But dude, no pain, no gain. So that was the best thing that could have happened to me, because I think the worst thing that can happen to a rookie is his first day, get a few easy sales. I think that's the worst thing that can happen to a rookie.
Why is that?
Because it makes him think that he has it figured out. It makes him complacent. Okay, like I got a few, because I remember my first day. Everyone else got sales their first day. Like, so when I started, a lot of guys were also starting that first day, middle April, because there was a group of us that got there pretty late. So there's like 5 or 6 of us. All those guys got on the board that day, like the brand new 6 rookies, but me. And I ended up.
Everybody else made a sale but you.
Yeah. So the pressure was way on, and I felt. And here's another thing about my rookie year too, because I feel like every year, especially since when I came to the company, people are starting to recruit younger and younger, because they're like, if we can get a guy in his 18, buy him in, get him in the system, he's going to be an amazing piece in a few years. We just have to groom him.
Yep.
So I remember when I came into EcoShield, I was, I just turned 18, and I swear, like the second youngest guy in our office, it was like 23. So like I had I felt really like,
wow, yeah.
Don't get me wrong, like Michael was awesome, like Carly was awesome, but I just had met these guys. Mm-hmm. So I'm really out there alone, and I'm like, okay, dude, these guys all got sales. This is bad. And a lot of them have done a Mormon mission too, so I already felt like I was so far behind. So that night I go home, and dude, I couldn't, like, when I have anxiety, which I did that day, not really on the door so much, but after, because I'm just like, holy crap, I just worked all day, I didn't make $1. Like, this is so much harder than I thought, because I thought that, like I said, I was going to have an inventory, I was going to come back and be like, I sold this many, and then I'd get paid like on the spot. I had no idea what I was doing. So my first day, I go home to the apartment, and I find out we have training videos and a manual. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what I need. Like, I find this out that night. So I go on the training videos, and the next thing you know, like, I'm gluing to these things. I'm manual training videos like this, like just in my bed. And I look at my phone, it's like 5 a.m. I'm like, well, I'm not going to sleep now, because it's time to knock in like 3 hours. So I finish up studying for, like, I got through the whole manual in the night. The whole manual took me like 4 or 5 hours to get through. And I watched almost every training video at the time that was up there. And I went into that second day, like, so confident, dude, because I knew what I was doing now. Like, I was like, I get it. It makes sense. Like, if I had that before, I would have felt better. But but I'm glad I had that first day, because it really made me, I was like, dude, I have to figure this out. Like, I had so much pressure on me. And how'd
the second day go?
It went great. So I got my first sale, like, probably 6 or 7 hours in the day, but I sold my first sale ever. I sold the next neighbor, like the next door, consecutively after, because I'm like, okay. So I get my first sale ever, and I'm sure you can imagine your first sale ever. Mm-hmm. It's the best feeling on earth.
Amazing.
You made it.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
I can do this.
Let's go.
It was the biggest laydown ever.
The first ones usually are.
Yeah, right? Anyone would have got that deal. But I leave that door. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can do this. Like, I could see it. And so I go to the next door. I get her, because I'm just so, like, I wouldn't take no for an answer, because I'm just so pumped up. I'm like, look, we're doing this guy. We're doing this guy. We're doing this guy. I got to get it done. So I ended up getting her. And so that second day I had 2. And then from that day on, obviously, I'm a rookie. I had bagels all the time. But I was a consistent 2 to 3 a day. And then I got to August that year. So I'd been knocking for about 2.5 months at this time. In August, I was good for like 7 to 8 a day. So most of the money I made my rookie year, because I ended up making about $60,000 my rookie year.
Okay.
About 80% of that was in August. I probably made like 15 the first few months, because, I was still going through a learning curve. Even though I was getting, 10 or 12 a week, I feel like, so August comes around the corner, and I have, 100 sales or whatever, 120 sales. And I think in August I sold like a 150 sales or something. Like, August I did more than I did the previous 3 months.
It's a finisher. That's a finisher, man. I love it. I saw one of my guys with that this year. It's the best feeling ever.
Because it's also like, I love, the way that they do it with all the competitions, for a rookie. I'm such a competitive person. So when I learn about this rookie mania, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to win. It's not even close. It's like, the second I heard about this, I'm like, dude, I will do whatever it takes. Like, I'm not going to lose. Like, so I ended up winning rookie mania that year, which was awesome. That felt really good.
What'd you win? When you won it, what'd you win?
It was a suit, and I got, I think it was like $3,000, and it was some other stuff like gift cards and.
Okay. Do you remember who you beat out? I'm just curious.
It was, it was JT. I think it was JT. And,
okay. That guy's a beast.
Yeah, and Austin. I'm almost positive it was JT. Yeah, it was him.
Okay, so you win Mania.
Yeah, so Ricky Mania. So I this is the funniest story ever though. So Ricky Mania ended before Mania, I think, or maybe I'd already I really just trampled Ricky Mania. It wasn't even close. I just destroyed it. There wasn't even a guy who got remotely close within me in Ricky Mania.
I believe it.
So I get to Mania, dude, and I was obsessed with Ryan Iceberts my rookie year, dude. I'm like, this guy, because everyone's like, this guy's a GOAT, you know? I came in.
I've seen it, man. Yeah, it's just wild.
I came in and he was the LeBron and I was the rookie. I'm like, okay, I got to do whatever this guy's doing. So I'm like, okay, this guy has way more talent than me. Has way more experience. So I have to outwork him every day and then I'm going to beat him. So that's what I try to do. But funny enough, I would have lost either way my rookie year in Mania. I think I placed third. I would have got really close to first, but what happened was, this is a crazy story. And our apartments our rookie year, they were in a little bit ghettoer area than we are now. Because, office is opening. You got to keep costs low. You want to be profitable,
Hey, we didn't do that in Detroit.
I am in a shithole my rookie year. 3 a.m., my neighbor shoots bullets through my apartment. They're like drunk, partying. Someone gets killed in the apartment next to me.
What?
I don't know if it was I don't know what it was. Someone died in there. But there was bullets that got shot through their wall, through my wall. And so I get waken up at 3 a.m. And this is in August, May. I'm the only person who lived in my apartment. Everyone else quit. All of July and August, I was the only person who lived in my apartment. It was kind of weird.
Wow.
Yeah. So all those guys were done by like July 1st. So I was there for almost 2 months alone in that apartment. So literally I wake up to cops just banging on the door, banging, banging, banging. So I wake up, I get up at 4 a.m. I'm just like, literally just in my boxers. I'm like, what's going on? I look at the people, I see a cop. I'm like, okay, this is a serious thing. I crack it open. I'm like, hey, she's like, she grabs me. She, come here. They could put me in a cop car. I'm like, I'm tripping. I'm like, what'd I do? And I didn't even wake up from the gunshot. I sleep like a bear, dude. It didn't even wake me up. I would have woken up the next morning and saw the hole through my cabinet and be like,
was it in the same room?
No. So it wasn't in my room because my room wasn't connecting to the main wall, but there was a bullet through the kitchen.
Okay. So the cop, what were they? They thought you were a suspect?
No. They wanted to make sure I was safe.
Gotcha.
Well, and a witness at the same time. So literally, I go down. They put me in the cop car. I just have my boxers, dude, just my boxers on, and they bring me to the cop car, which is right in front of the apartment. So I'm like, whatever. It's like early in the morning. No one sees me, but I'm just like, let me get my clothes on. And they're like, no, like this big serious thing. Like everyone out of their apartments out of the building.
Dang.
And this is in Mania. So what happens is a few hours later go by. I'm still not allowed in my apartment because it's all, dude, here's my door and here's the door right there. So there's just cops and dogs and tape around. Like I told like 5 officers, I'm like, can you just like go into the apartment next and just grab a pair of pants and a white eco shell shirt? And they're like, no, we can't. Like, so basically I go
you can't get your uniform?
I couldn't get this is in Mania. So I go to Michael Davis's house and I'm like, hey dude, because I had like 2 people calling me who wanted service. I'm like, hey man. So I talked to the people on the phone. I'm like, hey, I'm going to send my guy. He's going to come get everything card. He's just going to get your card on file. And then I sent Michael to go and do that. And then finally, like by like 3 or 4 p.m., everything was good. And I was able to go to my apartment and get my knock-in clothes. But that put like a huge step back on me in Mania. And mentally, it just destroyed me. I'm like, what's going on here? Like it tripped me out so hard. Like the cops were just doing their job. They're being like overprotective, but like... they definitely like were a little bit over the top. So that was the craziest thing that happened to me my rookie year. And I ended up losing that Mania, but yeah.
Okay. I got you, man. That's wild. I never knew that story. So
it's crazy.
The one story, like this story that sticks out in my mind that is something that I will mention at this time because you're talking about Mania and the way that you hold Mania and Shield, right? Mm-hmm. The way that Shield's held.
For sure.
There's, throughout high school, right? We're playing sports. Remember getting feelings when you step onto the court or the field.
Lord.
You get those butterflies.
Yeah.
Right? During Shield, when we were against Orange County, we literally had the entire team. Okay, so this is the way we set it up. OC was stacked.
You're in Chicago, right, at the time?
I was in Chicago at the time. OC was so stacked, man. They had Sean.
They were the super team.
They had Iceberts. They had Tinsley. They had Cody. They had
everybody.
Emil. They had Austin. Like, just so many heavy hitters out there. And in Chicago, like we had to like get our shit together in order to beat them, right? You had to work
as a team, yeah.
So dude, we had a meeting. We had a meeting at 8:00. Okay. Everybody, when they came into the meeting, I had somebody, us managers met up the night before and decided we were going to do this. Okay. Mm-hmm. So we collected everybody's phones as they walked in. We had them take their shoes off. I'm not exactly sure why, but we did. We had them take their shoes off and we all sat on the floor in a circle. This happened.
I love this.
This was Shield against OC.
2017?
17.
Okay.
17. Yep. I had my biggest revenue serviced week of my career, right? Made more like this was
That's what it's all about.
This was real, man. Like, so we sat down, we all made commitments to what it was we were going to do. And dude, I've never worked so hard in my life. Like the entire team, every single person threw down. But when I got to the door, I felt the butterflies in my stomach, the same ones that I felt at like a state tournament or something. And I remember thinking to myself, like, what the hell's going on? I'm knocking doors. Like, I was so freaking, I was so amped. So they're just watching the leaderboard all day, just going as hard as you possibly can, like trying to get all the technicians to work extra hours and all that. So that was when you're talking about media. That was the time in my life where every single person all said we're going to do this, and it was absolutely insane, man. Like, it's the best feeling knowing that everybody's just going the absolute hardest to try to. They beat us by like 2 accounts. It was
that's the same thing that happened with us with New York this year. We were the clear underdogs. New York is stacked.
Yep.
And it came to the point where when the round was over and it took like 2 or 3 days to get the numbers, I thought we won. It was that close. Like it came down to like 2 deals. So it is what it is, but we lost, but that was one of the best weeks of my life. Like we've never rallied. Like I was knocking neighborhoods like 6 deep with guys. Like I was like, get in, you're staying with me because I'm going to create this environment that's going to just, your guys, like when I went into Mania, it's like throughout the summer, I'm really dialed in, but when I go into Mania, dude, it's like I don't even think. It's just like robot. So,
because the level of competition is insane,
dude. I hate to lose.
Yeah,
I just can't. I hate losing. I'm knocking with all these rookies 6 deep. We're teching homes. I just feel like I'm doing everything I can. Like I had my biggest week ever selling.
Let's go.
That week against New York. It was like constant. Like I had like over a 10 spot like every day.
I saw.
It was like 10, 15, 12, 10. But a lot of the guys in Miami were throwing down and we ended up losing. But dude, that's what it's all about is the competitiveness.
Yeah.
So for me, because we don't, in May and June and July, you don't have that competition, the Shield and the Mania. So I try to create my own mental games every day in May. If I'm third on the leaderboard and it's 8:30 and I'm 1 sale away from on the leaderboard, I will not go home. I will not go home. So like a lot of the because I think a lot of the guys have their sights set on money. If you have your sights set on money, you're not going to make a whole lot.
Yeah, speak a little bit on that, man, because I feel that.
Yeah, no. So what I mean by that is because I'm doing this to make money. You're doing this to make money. Yeah. But what pushes us and what gets the most out of us is not money, because money's awesome, but that doesn't make people want to conquer everything just for some more money. Because once you've already made, like when August comes around the corner, I've already made X amount of money. I'm like, I could be like, what do these competitions matter to me? But it comes down to a feeling of working is hard, just getting, for me, my thing is just to get the most production of myself every day. If I come home with 8 sales, but I know I did everything I could, I'm so happy with that. But like I've come home with days where I had 15 sales and I knew I could have done more. And I'm just punching myself.
15 sales. That's just disgusting.
Yeah, no, it's
what a terrible day.
No, but it's like, that's how, like, there's like, no matter, I could sell 30 in a day and I'll look back on the one person that I should have had. I'm like, damn, like until I have a perfect day where I have 100% close ratio, I won't be happy.
What's your best close ratio day?
Oh, dude, honestly, I think I've had a few where there's one door I didn't get. I remember my first day this summer, I had a 9 spot. I knocked 10 doors. A lot of those sales took over an hour because I wasn't going to leave.
Okay.
It was on one street, The street had 10 homes. I got 9 of them. I remember leaving that street that day and I looked down and it was so dark and it was so late. I'm like, I literally just spent 8 or 9 hours on 10 doors. Every single person answered. It was an old folks community, so everyone was home. And with the old people, it's normally a longer sale. You have to build a little more rapport. They're not so fast to bite or pull the trigger. So I'm sitting there building rapport all day long with the older people. And so I mean, I've had a few days where I was just 1 or 2 off.
Okay. I have to ask Iceburst if he's ever had a perfect day.
I mean, he had the one day this summer. I don't know if it was perfect, but he had that big day where he got 18,000 revenue.
I saw his
in July.
You see the street that he knocked down.
Yeah,
to get
the one.
Crazy.
Yeah, exactly. That's, and I think that's the way to do it, because it's like if you're going neighborhood to neighborhood, you can't build a buzz. It's like when you really get the ball rolling and you're in a neighborhood with 20 homes and you just got 5 houses. It's like, this is my neighborhood,
bro. What happened with the pictures?
Okay, I wake up. Tristan's daddy was Ryan's team name.
Wait. So give a little context here. So what's going on?
I wake up. This is Mania. I just beat. And by the way, let me start. I had to go against. I don't know why Greg and Doug did this to me. I looked at the bracket. I'm like, this is BS. I went against the whole time I was in the Mania. I went against only people in the top 10 the whole time. So my first round, I go against Jackson, or it was Cam or Jackson. Then I don't know who I went against first or after. I think I went against Cam first. Cam's a beast.
Yeah.
After that, I go against Jackson. Jackson's a beast. After that, I go against Ryan. So I'm just like, this is great. I get no breathing.
Wow.
Normally in Mania, you get the one guy where I'm going to cream this guy. So you can kind of take your foot off the gas just to save energy for that next opponent. But for me, it was just nonstop, harder and harder and harder. So I go, okay, I got Ryan now. Me and him probably had a 3-day Mania span or whatever the competition is. I probably got 3 hours of sleep those 3 days combined. Maybe. There was 2 nights, back-to-back nights I didn't sleep. So
this is crazy, and this is something I want to talk about because everybody knows that you don't do Adderall, right? So how
it's the natural dude, just I don't know, I'm going when I get home. There's so much more to knocking than knocking doors. So I get home, I start studying. I study every day this summer, training videos, stuff like that. Whenever I have time at night and I feel like there's something that I'm not doing well, I'll go watch a training video about it because I can humble myself enough to be I can get better every day. But not only that is I'll go home and I'll chart out area for hours. So what I do against Ryan, the reason I wouldn't sleep, because I knew that I would put in more preparation than he would, that I was willing to. So for hours, I think, so I get home knocking and I slept from 12 to 2 or something the first day. And then from 2 to 6, I'm plotting out my whole day. I'm going to go here, here, here. I'm going to only people I've already talked to. I'm really just strategically doing my day, like a game plan. This is the play, totally chalking it out. And at 6 a.m. I leave to go to the doors, get on the doors at 7 because I was about an hour away from my area. And yeah, dude. And then the next days I did the same thing.
So you did that each night and the Mania session was at 3 days versus you two?
Yeah. So it was so the first night I got 2 hours of sleep from 12 to 2 or something. And the second night I didn't sleep because I was going into the final day of Mania against him. But dude, the competition gets the best of me. I literally don't know how to say this, but when the competition comes, I turn into a different person. I'm ambitious all the time, but I literally lose myself when it comes to. I get so competitive that it's just anything to win.
So when you saw Icebert's picture, what was the rebuttal?
Oh my gosh, dude. So this is what was funny. So we have, you guys have a group chat. We have a group chat. Yeah. So I saw that dude and I'm like, fuck this guy. I'm going to crush him. I don't even care to do anything. I'm going to crush this guy. So I'm just selling, knocking as hard as I can. And Chaz and Boyd and some of the other guys are like, dude, you can't just take that from him. you know?
They're messing with you?
So yeah, so I can't, like, they were like telling me ideas what to come up with. And so we decided that steroid free would be good for my team name because his was Tristan's daddy. So mine was steroid free. And this is the funniest part, dude. I'm knocking, bro. And I go to like refresh my page. I had no idea. I refresh my page. I see Shannon as my profile picture. I didn't do it. I had no idea. And I'm like,
okay.
I started dying laughing.
Oh.
Like Chaz and Boy did it. They went on to sales routes while I was knocking and changed my profile picture to Shannon. And dude,
that provides some clarity. I had no idea what was going on, but when I saw that, I was like,
my phone was blown. People are like, dude, you're insane. You're savage. Like,
I'm like, you're doing that to icebergs, bro.
You know, it's dude. He's me and him are boys.
Yeah.
But dude, and he's the same way with the competition, dude. I feel like I feel like I'm the most competitive person in the company, but Brian Iceberg is the one who wins all these manias and these shields. So realistically, like he's, just as competitive, if not more.
Hey, 2020.
There we go.
2020.
Hey, dude, he's been on stacked teams, bro. I haven't been on stacked teams until this year. So, now we got a good supporting cast.
All right.
But dude, I could go on for hours about the competitiveness and the competition, but literally like, I totally forget about selling pest control. I forget about like how much money I'm making. I forget about commission. Dude, I'm just turning myself and like when the shield and the mania comes around, dude, it's just like sacrifice dude, no one will hear from me for like, unless you're a rookie or you're on my team, like no one will hear from me for, those weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And literally, dude, like, my rookie year and my second year as well in these competitions, I don't sleep, dude. I can't because I can't go lay in bed because I'm so anxious. I'm like, if I sleep, then I am like leaving preparation. Like I could use this time better than sleeping.
How do you not sleep and function? Is like what? How do you do that? I mean, most people cannot do or most people can't do that.
I feel like when you're excited and you're passionate about something, which is funny to say because I'm selling pest control. Mm-hmm. I'm maybe not passionate about selling pest control, but just about the culture and winning and taking shield or mania or whatever it is. Dude, that is something that like when that time comes, because I think about this stuff all year round, dude. So when those 3 days come, dude, I don't care about the sleep. Like it's not like for me, it's just like it's not even an option. It's like it's kind of when I'm knocking, like I'll never take lunch because it's just not an option for me. Like if I'm starving, I won't even take lunch because I'm like, dude, I'm just gonna have a big dinner when I get home.
How many do you on a regular day? Do you take a lunch like on a normal knocking day? No lunches.
No.
So when you eat in the morning and then at night?
Yeah, I have a pretty big breakfast, then I have a big dinner. I probably took lunch 5 times this summer, and it was just because I was knocking with guys, and I was in their car, and like, hey, let's do lunch. And I'm like, cool. Like, I'm not going to say let's not do lunch when I'm in a guy's car and we're knocking, you know what I mean? I'm like, whatever.
What I found is that that's not really that odd in our top 10. Like I found
not
that,
at all.
I found that out.
No.
That I remember talking to, we were actually over in Cabo, and that was the night that we started talking a lot. And then I looked over at Cam, and I remember talking to him about, I was like, so how do you guys handle picking up your guys for lunch and then like dropping them off? Like it just bites a ton of time. Like how do you do that efficiently? And he looked at me like I was crazy. He's like, lunch? He's like, you leave the neighborhood? He's like, I remember he said it. He's like, every once in a while, I might go to my car and like get a 20, 30 minute power nap. It's like, I'll never leave the neighborhood. And so he didn't, there is no way to do it. Fish said, don't leave the neighborhood, So, and I told my guys after that, you pack a lunch, take it in the cooler.
And this is why it's not the 30 minutes that you take lunch. That doesn't matter. Like, it's okay that you sacrifice it. Like Cam said, he takes the power nap. It still takes him about the same amount of time lunch would, but mentally when you leave the hood and you go and you get lunch and you're with your boys and, you're just chilling, you have to flip the switch back on to go knock. And that's hard sometimes, especially when it's hot and it's August. Like in May, guys don't really have an issue with that. But when you're 2-3 months into it and guys are taking lunch, like you're having to break through the wall to go back to the doors after lunch. Cause it's like, it's kind of like at work, you clock out and you're like, I gotta go clock back in for my shift. Right.
Yeah.
That's kind of the same type of philosophy. So if you don't clock out, I guess what I'm trying to say is when
Momentum?
you take lunch, the momentum is dead.
Yeah, I feel that.
You have to recreate the momentum, which people can do, but it's hard.
The food comas are real. Like they're real.
Yes.
It's terrible. When I do eat lunch, I stopped eating anything that was heavy like years ago because I remember after lunch, after eating Chipotle.
Oh my
dude,
gosh.
if you eat Chipotle for lunch and then you go try to sell, like, dude, you're dead.
Yeah.
You're dead. Your body's like barely able to process that much food in the first place. I'm taking care of the bugs. Like they feel bad for you.
Momentum is everything. Like this whole job, dude, is like you got to look at. I look at it like at such a like a microscopic view. Like 4 months, those 4 months is turns into 100 days of knocking or whatever. Mm-hmm. The harder I go in those 100 days, the more I get to enjoy myself in the off season or whatever I want to do. Because there's so many guys in the company that have regrets in September. Every year, guys have regrets. I've never regretted a summer when I got back home. Like I've looked back and I'm like, damn, I could have worked harder, but that fuels me to try and do harder the next year. But for the most part, I leave it all out there, try to give it all I have.
So that's apparent through what it is that you do, right? I've seen you on the leaderboard for years and years now. So the thing is that when you went to go to the like off season where a lot of people will just relax, do not much of anything, or sometimes people travel, some people go to school. You decide you're going to become a business owner, and then you went that direction, right? Now you're a partner at EcoShield. What made you want to do that versus just like, hey, I already did my work for the year, I'm good?
Ever since I got into EcoShield, I wanted to earn ownership. So once I got partnership, just because you hit partnership doesn't mean you've made it. The partnership plan is only as good as how much you pump into it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm like, okay, like at this time, I felt like, to be honest, this off season, I've worked harder than the last 2 off seasons combined. Like it's not even close, just because I'm so motivated, and I feel like I've got to a point where I've really like not to say that I've made it, but I've got to a point where I'm comfortable that I can take a lot of my time out of my day to really try and help guys, rookies. So this year I want to crush personal sales. I'm going to be in the top 10, but my main goal is to sacrifice a lot of my time to help guys and just make sure that people feel like you're taken care of and getting the proper training and whatnot. Because at the end of the day, dude, I don't want to be knocking doors in 10 years. And the more I can teach what I know and grow and recruit and build and help people make what I made, eventually I get to take a step back. So, but realistically, man, like to answer that question, even though it's the off season, dude, I'm still doing a ton of Gecko stuff. I do a ton of recruiting. I trade stocks like every day, like crazy.
Hey, a lot's going on right now. What are you doing?
With stocks,
man,
I'm all in coronavirus plays. So all my money is in companies, specifically Vaxart, which is making an oral pill for the coronavirus. And that's not something I'll be in that long because this is it's a hot thing right now. So those stocks are doing well. So I'll be out of it in a few weeks. I'm always finding the new, whatever is hot at the time or whatever's good at the time. My buddy's actually the one who's like, hey, dude, you got to get on these coronavirus plays because my buddy trades stocks. I'm like, okay. So I did some research about it. I'm like, yeah, this is definitely the move. Like, it's smart. I can't believe I didn't think of this until he told me. So I've been doing that the last little bit, but every few weeks it's something different. For me, it's like, dude, I can't have a whole day. Like, even if I'm in Hawaii on the EcoShield trip, I'm still making work calls because I can't go a whole day with doing nothing productive. Like, I'll go to bed that night and I'll feel like crap. I'm like, dude, like, what did I accomplish today?
Yeah.
So sometimes it doesn't have to be that big. I went to the gym and I made 3 calls today. Like in Hawaii, you can only do so much, right? So I'm like, okay, like I'm happy with that. Control what you can control. But dude, yeah, after I hit the partnership plan, dude, like I feel like I really understood more of how the business works because it's like I had more of a sales mindset prior. So I'm just really I want to have the biggest team in the company this year, revenue wise. I won't with guys because some guys just recruit like crazy. But I want to have the best team revenue this year. So
what's the best team in your mind when you're thinking what you're going to recruit? What's the best team? How much in revenue?
To be honest with you, being competitive, I want to do more than whoever has the most, right?
The most?
So who knows what that number will be? Cam says his team will do 5 million. So if that's the case, I have to do 5.1. But honestly, like just ballpark, being realistic, because guys love to throw numbers all around the place. Like if my team could do over 2.5. Like, if there's no way my team's going to do under 2.5. We do.
You do well over that. You'll do well over that.
Well, Michael Davis is back in the company, and he has some guys too, which is huge. And I've just been trying to recruit guys from other companies too, which has also been going pretty well. So I have a lot of experienced guys who are on the team, which it's like, you know, if they did a certain amount of revenue the year before, you know that they're good for that minimum the next year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, dude, team, I just want to have the biggest team in the company this year. And that's all, like, that doesn't happen overnight. Like, this whole off season, that's my whole thing every day. Mm-hmm. I just want to have the best team this summer. So
that one, I feel you. Similar goal there.
Yeah.
Exact same goal, matter of fact.
I see what you're doing, man.
Awesome, man. So I'm going to take a quick break and jump on here and ask you a couple of questions. So got a question on Facebook, which I feel like a lot of what you said is going to answer, but it's very straightforward. What makes him so successful on the doors?
Mindset. A lot of people, the one thing I hate is people are like, oh, he's a beast. Dude, I couldn't do that. Like, when I started, I was the worst. So, it's complete mindset. Every day I try to do more than I did the day before. Right. And as the years go on, if you're doing that every day, 2 or 3 years goes by, you're doing crazy things. Right. Mm-hmm. So it's like, if I sold 10 sales on Monday and I sell 9 on Tuesday, I feel like shit. That's still 9 sales, but I didn't do better than I did on Monday. Why is that? Because I didn't do as good. So for me, it's about seizing each day. Cause I feel like some people look at success like way too, like you need to look at it day by day. Mm-hmm. Control what you control every day. And if you improve every day, you're going to be successful before you know it. But if you're just looking down the road 5 years, like, oh man, like my time will come, or, you know, this, people are just, you know, you got to jump at opportunity when you see it, which is what I did with EcoShield. And then you got to take advantage of it, dude. Take all the tools around you, use them. But, you know, it's pretty simple. Just make the most out of every day. Some people just overcomplicate it in their head. Mm-hmm. And that's why some people I feel like think that, oh, that couldn't be me. Or whatever. But when I'm recruiting guys, I'm like, look, dude, like I can seriously look at a guy and be like, honestly, like you could really suck at this, but if you dedicate and sacrifice everything, you can be the best in the company. Yeah.
Yeah. To that point, there's a perfect story I feel like that embodies that. So last year I was recruiting, there was this 17-year-old kid named Rumble. And he ended up coming in for an interview, and when he sat down across from me, I just was straight up with him. I was like, "Hey, man, I don't know that you can do this job. Matter of fact, I'm not sure that you can." But
similar to what Chaz Wright was.
Yeah,
very similar.
And I was like, but when he told me why he wanted it, I felt it. I was like, I felt it. He was telling the truth, and it was really deep. So I was like, I hired him on the spot because of that, right? But I wasn't sure that he was going to make it. I just knew that he was going to try. So then he's like, well, what can I do? What can I do to make it? And so I was like, well, there's a lot of sales material that you should probably get on. So I was like, here, read these 2 books. So I sent him 2 books to read. I think it was, one of them was Eat That Frog, and the other one was 10X by Grant Cardone, right? And then he texted me back that night. No. Sorry, messing up the story. So he texted me back the next day in the morning, and he said, what next? And so he had read both the books.
Love it.
And I was like, oh. So I sent him, Way the Wolf, as we started down that path. And he made MDP, dude. And it's the coolest thing ever, because a 17-year-old kid, he turned 18 during the year. Every time I would go to pick him up, every time. So I would see his pin in the neighborhood, right? So I go to pick him up for lunch, which I won't be doing this year. And I could not find him, and then when I would see him, I swear he'd be running,
door to door,
just straight up, like running, like from one house to the next house, like 2 streets down. I would go try to find him. He'd be running the whole time away from me, right? So that's Rumble, and that's what I feel like what you're talking about there. That embodies it, man.
I can relate, dude. I was running door to door my rookie year. Even my second year, I was running door to door.
Same,
dude. Because it's an excitement, like once you figure it out and you know what you're doing, it's really like, it's fun,
Yeah.
So, and then like, here's what's crazy about this job for me, dude. Cause it's like, I look some days, I'm like, really, sometimes this job sucks. But that's what makes it,
sure.
If it was awesome every day, or if it sucked every day, that's what makes the awesome days better, So it's like, it's just, you take a 17-year-old kid, he reads some books, he does some stuff, you give him the ropes and he runs with it. That's what I love about the system. Like if someone really wants it, there's no excuse.
Yep.
There's no excuse. If someone fails, that's fine. They just didn't want it enough. That's how I look at it. And it's not for everybody. Not everyone's crazy enough to go do that. But that's awesome to hear. So is he like a manager now, like recruiting guys for you, or where's he at?
Yeah, he's manager. He's got guys coming in. He's
so
like,
sick.
he's loving life, man.
And a guy like him, it's like when he started and where he's at now, it's like when he's talking to his own guys, like, look, dude, you can do this. I did it. When I started, I didn't know anything.
Yep.
But that's so funny that he read the 2 books that day.
Yeah, that day, dude.
Wow.
He was just on it. That's what he cared about. So I that intuition, I don't know what that was, but I actually don't. I barely want to say this on a podcast, but when he told me his why, I had to get up and walk to the bathroom because I was about to start having some tears, and I was like, I got up, I was like, dried my eyes off and went back out, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna give you a shot,
dude.
He wanted it, man. He wanted it bad.
Experiences that. And you can relate to this so much. Experience that you've been through in your life make you what you are. I am so grateful for all the bad things that happened to me.
Yeah.
Because it fueled me to be who I wanted to be. If just like I was saying earlier, you grow up on a silver spoon or you don't really have a lot of adversity to deal with in life. When you turn 18, and you go to the real world, you're not prepared at all. Mm-hmm. So like I hit adversity very, very young age. So when I was 12 years old, I get home from school and there's an eviction notice on my door every day. And I'm like, what's this? So I'm learning things quickly. And by the time I'm 14, I'm panicking where my life's going to turn out. I'm like, I got to make this happen when I'm 14. So I preempted a lot of these things. But yeah, that's...
I love it. I'm going to go to the next question for you. We'll go to the next question. Okay, so based on where you are right now, just because you're so young, where do you want to be in 5 years?
That's a scary question, dude, because people look at me like I'm crazy, but in 5 years, I want to, like, dude, 5 years for me is a lot. Like in 3 years from now, I want to be in my dream home. So in 5 years from now, I want to have like, in 5 years from now, I want to have, I haven't thought numbers out, but in 5 years, I want to just have everything, dude. That's too much time for me. I look at 5 years, that's 1,500 days. Like in 1,500 days, I can conquer the world. So like for me, I'm motivated by a lot of things, dude. But to be completely honest, like where I grew up and where I came from, I want to be able to give back one day. Because it's like, I know so many people still who just very unfortunate, there's a lot of people that I wish I could give to. And I do right now little, what I can, but it's like, if I can get to a level where I get my toys, I get what I want, I work for everything that I got, and then I just have cash flow coming in. My goal would just be to help people, not like going out, like giving away everything. Cause you want to, you don't do that, but just having the power to be like, I'm going to help this guy out.
I feel like one of the largest ways somebody like yourself, I've given this a lot of thought, right? I mean, going through what we've gone through in EcoShield and then going back to a place like that, it gives you a lot of,
oh my gosh,
something. It gives you a lot of, you feel, what is it? You feel like you want to help, but you can't. So you can't just give that won't help in any like long lasting type of way. So I feel like a lot of what you actually can do is this. You can get your mindset out there. So there's another question on that I got, which was, what's the first thing you do to pull yourself up by your bootstraps?
Evaluate where I'm at, for sure. Like look at what I did the day before, what I'm doing today, what I'm going to do tomorrow. For me, it's all about being a visionary, dude. Like in my life, everything that I said I was going to do, I've done to this point. And then you get a certain level of confidence when you do that. So it's like to the bootstrap thing, it's like sometimes when I just put my mind to it, I'm like, okay, this is what I got to do. I make a game plan for it. So for example, I hit partnership plan. I'm like, okay, I want to have the biggest team in the company this year. I'm gonna have to work my ass off and make a game plan and go and get all these guys and train them as much as I can to do that. But I mean, that question, I didn't know if they mean like just all in all or day by day.
Generalization if they left it that way. So
yeah.
Okay. Then here's another one. What are his daily habits, if any, that separates him from others?
I wake up really early. I mean, I know a lot of people do.
What time?
Between 5 and 6 always.
Okay.
Like if I wake up after 6:30, I panic because if I wake up and at 7 o'clock, I'm panicking because I've lost a lot of time in that day already. Most of what I get done, and you'll hear this on every YouTube video. I learned this when I was a teenager from, everybody on YouTube, all the influencers. It's like the best way to have a big day is by getting as much done you can in the morning, because you don't start the day, get some stuff done, and then stop. Mm-hmm. When you wake up and you're lazy, you're going to have a lazy day. When you wake up and you start doing things, you're just going to do more and more things throughout the day. So as far as habits and whatnot, as far as this off season, I try to be at the gym by around 7. So I wake up, have breakfast. I take all my vitamins and whatnot. And one thing I actually do in the summer, that's kind of funny is I'm a big like believer. One time I heard that, knocking doors, and this is something I'll always hold on to. A good way to be successful when you're knocking doors is the doors to not be the hardest thing you did that day, in a sense where, and for everyone, it's different for everybody. So for me, it's funny, but it's stupid. You know, those big, juices that are like all vegetables and they're just green. It's gross. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Those scare me. So like, that's my biggest weakness. Like, dude, that V8 stuff kills me. So I buy a ton of it every summer. And every morning I just chug a whole hell of that thing, dude.
That's the hardest.
That's the hardest thing I do every day. So when I get out to the doors, I'm like, dude, I've already taken out my worst enemy. Like, and for other guys, I'm like, dude, dig deep, do something you hate in the morning. If you hate going to the gym, go to the gym. You don't have to work out hard. Force yourself to go to the gym and do a quick workout if you hate doing it. If like some guys in our team, they'd go jump in the pool in the morning just to get going. But just any little random thing you can do, because routines are just crazy, man. And the summer, my routine was the same every single day. Like it didn't break once. I'd wake up, I'd do my juice thing. I'd go to Dunkin' Donuts every day this summer. Every single day I got the same thing. Because it's just like, even if I wasn't hungry or even if I was sick of it, it's just like robot, dude, dialed in. I'm like, I can't change my routine because
what's the order? You said you get the same thing every day. So what do you get?
It's a bacon, egg, and cheese bagel, which is actually pretty fire. And it was a large cappuccino.
Okay, gotcha.
So yeah, so like I said, I get coffee instead of like, a lot of guys do. I drink Bangs throughout the summer sometimes, but I prefer coffee.
Okay.
But yeah, a lot of guys are always trying to find whatever they can for energy. But yeah, so I head to Dunkin' Donuts, and literally mentally, I was so dialed into my the habits and my schedule and whatnot that I literally thought to myself, if I skipped the vegetable juice in the morning, or if I skipped Dunkin' Donuts, I was gonna have a horrible day because I'm breaking my routine.
Yep.
And there was literally one day this summer I didn't go to Dunkin' Donuts because I woke up late. We had a meeting. Like I wanted to get to a neighborhood by a certain time, and that was the worst day I had this summer. Not because I didn't go to Dunkin' Donuts, but because I didn't mentally, my routine was off. Mm-hmm. It didn't feel right. Some days I'd go there and I literally wasn't hungry, or wasn't in the mood for coffee. And I would just go there just to go there and get my stuff in the car, just to check off the box in the morning.
Wow. The routine, that momentum, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. So for guys, like my number one thing is like, you don't have to do anything crazy, but every day this summer, just do the same thing, because it's like you literally turn yourself into a robot and you just wake up and you know what to do.
Quick question for you about hours before I get to the next question here. When do you start? When do you stop? What's your routine there?
Yeah. So preseason, before we're doing trainings and guys are out there and whatnot. And then also in August when we're just dialed in, because we don't do a ton of meetings in August either, because it's just like competitions. We want to get out early. Mm-hmm. So when we don't have a meeting, I normally leave the apartments by 7 or 7:30, depending on where I'm knocking. So if I'm knocking 30 minutes away, I'll leave at 7:30, get there at 8. If I'm knocking an hour away, I'll leave at 7, get there at 8. Mm-hmm. Always try to be on the doors by 8:30.
Okay.
All March I was on the doors by 8. I normally had every single day in March, I had like 1 or 2 deals before 9:30 or 10. So once you get that momentum and you don't take a lunch, if you have 2 sales before 10, you're going to get 6 or 7 minimum regardless. Like
that's okay. Okay. And then where do you knock in until?
well, daylight savings kind of went halfway through the summer. So at the beginning, I was only knocking till like 7 because it was pitch black in Miami. Like, I don't know if that's the same in Detroit.
We are so lucky. It gets dark so late here.
Okay. Yeah. In Miami in March, when I first got out there, it was pitch black at like 7. So I'd knock until like 7:30, but you know, that people get bugged. So after daylight savings hit in the summer, like there was a lot of times where I was getting deals at 9:30.
Okay.
So normally it'd be around 9:30 because I feel like at 10 at that point, you know, I normally don't knock past 10.
Have you heard about what Doug's done in the past? Have you heard about it?
No.
Oh, you got to
His
ask him,
schedule.
man.
I know he
Talk
had.
about
I know.
how late
I know
he
he
got
had,
back. Dude, we're talking like I've heard stories. I've heard stories about in the AM, like well into the AM. So
his home 1 a.m.
yeah,
2 a.m.
Off of his. So he would say this line. He'd say, "Hey, what's the latest that I can come back?" And then depending on that person's work schedule, they would say all kinds of different stuff, and he'd push them as far as he like could. So he had a bunch of paperwork to do, all this kind of stuff from back in the day.
So he set his go backs for like
yeah.
Well, I did have a few doors like this, but no, that's really smart. I had a few doors this summer where the wife's like, yeah, my husband doesn't get home until 11:30 p.m. And it's like, I know it's a deal. So it's like, there was a few doors that I hit, but it's like, it wasn't like a random door.
Okay.
But no, that's really smart of Doug.
That's crazy.
It's just
I thought you appreciate that because I know you and Doug have your go back and forth on a few things.
Yeah, no, dude, Doug's
which is
awesome,
a perfect segue into our next
our
next one because Doug would love this one. So, so after you're bored of the range, what's next?
Dude, I've already said this, and I'm not changing my mind. In September, I'm getting a Lamborghini. It's not even. I almost bought one this off season. I was like that close.
Which one? Which one are you gonna get?
So it's probably going to be the Huracan, but me and Amadeus have been talking a lot, and we've kind of sold each other on the concept of getting a Urus. But the thing is, here's why I'd get a Huracan, because I already have the SUV range. So I'd want to get like a sports car because the Urus is awesome, but that's more of like a dad mom car, which I kind of already have. So definitely want to get like a Huracan drop top or something. Because dude, in Miami, I used to like cars when I was a kid for sure, but dude, the culture out there is just like cars, man.
Yeah.
Like if you're driving Range Rover out there, you're nothing. You have a Range Rover, like you have nothing to say. You don't have nothing to talk about in Miami. It's like that's like in Utah, like the average person drives a Hyundai or a Honda or whatever. In Miami, the average person drives like a BMW or a Range or something. Like that's where you start. Okay. So I was surrounded by that culture, and I love it. You know, I've signed up people who have like 20 cars, and it's just crazy, man. Like we signed up people with $2 million cars, just like, and I'm like, dang, dude, like I vision it. I'm like, why can this guy have this and I can't? And it's awesome when you sign up, you know, business owners, entrepreneurs, or whatever, sales guys, and they're like, oh yeah, dude, you're a hustler. Like, you know, if I was doing this when I was your age, I'd have way more or whatever. You'll hear things like that. Yeah, yeah. Or like, yeah, man, like keep doing what you're doing, you'll get it. And that like pumps me up like crazy. Yep. But yeah, no, it's going to be a Lamborghini. It's not even close.
That's okay. All right. So let me jump over because you started mentioning about $2 million cars. I've heard that you've sold a decent amount of celebrities. And then there was a story about a rapper that I remember really well, man. What went down there?
Yeah, so there is okay. So one thing I love to do, and this is, you know, in every market you could find a celebrity because, you know, they live everywhere. But Miami, you know, LA, New York, those places, especially Miami, you get a lot of celebrities. So throughout this summer, I probably signed up celebrities, like if you include like athletes, probably like 50 people. Just between like NFL, MLB, musicians, artists, so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. But we were talking about earlier, I have some videos on my phone. So we went up to X's house, and I get in there, and this is the funny story that I didn't tell you about. I told you I was there for like 4 or 5 hours. Mm-hmm. They had these tree frogs in their house that were loose.
Wait, so where are you at? Whose house?
XXX Tentacion. This is like the few days before he gets murdered. I'm at his house. I have like videos on my phone. It's just a crazy experience. The funniest thing is because I'm like trying to figure out how I can buy time in that house, how I can get as much clout as possible. I'm like, I'm in this house now. I don't want to leave. Like I'm in this vicinity.
That's all multiple posts. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, dude, it's just like I just felt like it was one of the most surreal feelings ever. And especially because he was the same age as me, it's just like crazy to see where he was. It's just insane. But anyways, his mom's like, hey, so there was like 3 or 4 rooms in their house that they haven't gone into for like a week or two. And they had like towels stuffed under the door. And she's like, these rooms have like frogs in them, like little tree frogs. And we're like terrified to hell of them. Like no one in our family will go in those rooms. Like one of the rooms was the studio. It looked very similar to this. You know, we had some mics and some whatnot and a bunch of papers all over the place. But dude, literally for hours, I'm going around this guy's house and this is insane. So his mom, which is Cleopatra, she says, hey, I'll pay you to just capture these frogs because I don't know who else will do this. And I'm thinking to myself, like, you don't need to pay me. Like, this is a reason for me to be here. So, and for me, it's like, dude, we were already talking about the gecko thing. It's like, what? I can catch some frogs. Like, throughout the summer, when I'm in Florida, I'm grabbing snakes off the street all the time and whatnot because they're just everywhere. So I'm like, yeah, this is perfect. Like, this is awesome. So I'm in her bedroom. She locks me in there. And I'm like, what do you want me to do? Like, I don't want to start digging through all her stuff. She's like, listen, Tristan, you have full permission to go through all my stuff. I need to find this frog. So I pull her dresser out. I'm going through all her jewelry. She's like, go through everything. Dude, I'm like, my hands is probably holding like $500,000 of jewelry. I'm just sitting there. I'm like, I opened the door and I fell down. Not like bad, but I got tripped over because so many Gucci and Louis Vuitton bags fell. My God. Like they slammed them and she closed the door. I opened it to look in the closet and just poured on me.
Hey, knowing your wardrobe, you couldn't have been that mad.
Oh no, it was that, but those things made me want to, I'm like, dude, I see how these people are living. Like, that's what makes me like, I've been in the atmosphere of so many famous rich people, athletes, rappers, whatever it may be. You get a glimpse into their life. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't want to go back. Yeah. You know?
There's some areas, man. There's some areas in Detroit where it was just like Lions player, Red Wings player. It was crazy. Tanner Schuck sold a ton of them.
Is Matthew Stafford still the quarterback for the Lions?
Yep, he is. We were in his neighborhood. But I don't think that anybody talked to him or his wife. So,
dude, the thing is, like, when I get a celebrity, I knock that door like 100 times. You're never gonna get a celebrity home on the first time. Like, there was the guy I was showing you, the Spanish guy in Well. He has like 20 million followers on Instagram. I knocked his door like 10 times the summer before and never answered. That the next summer, a bunch of other EcoShield reps knocked his door. They never answered because it's like, dude, this guy's on tour. Like, they're never home. And if anyone's ever home, it's just a housekeeper. You know, they're not going to do anything. So I finally get him home. He answers. He doesn't speak a lick of English. So I do my Spanish pitch. I sign him up.
You fluent?
No, not at all. Actually, this is how crazy. Like Miami, when I started my rookie year, I knew hola. And right now I know enough Spanish to just sell you pest control. And other than that, I'm lost.
Let's go. I've had to call my buddy.
Want my pitch?
Yeah. Okay. Hit me with it.
So I'll knock the door and I'll say, oh, hey, I'm Tristan. And then this is what they always say. No inglés. I'm like, oh, lo siento, mi solo gringo in Miami or whatever. And they'll start laughing. I'll say, a la fumigación, which is pest control. And I got this because Michael Davis and a lot of the other guys spoke Spanish in the office. So I've seen their pitch before. So I just it took me a long time to get it down, but I'd say, me llamo Tristan, con EcoShield Pest Control, a la fumigación para todo vecino, mucho hormiga, araña, ants, and spiders. Mi técnicos aquí hoy, my technicians in the neighborhood, muy barato, so very cheap.
Let's go. Yeah. Let's go. How many of you signed up that way?
Oh, probably 100 people. Like, well, in my 3 years, hundreds of people, because there's so many. Like, here's the thing too: the fact that my Spanish is choppy, they give me a bigger chance. So if a guy comes up completely fluent in Spanish, they'll still shut him down. But the fact that I'm sitting there and there's a little bit of a language barrier and I'm struggling, but they still get the point. Like, I'm trying to sell them pesticides, they get it. So they kind of give me a little bit more of a chance just because I'm struggling there. But a lot of people also speak no one speaks no English. So yeah, I'm able to get a little bit of English in because like they'll ask me questions in Spanish and I'll just be like, hormiga, araña, ants and spiders. I don't know what else to say, but dude, it's insane how many people I do that pitch and they'd say, ¿cuánto? How much? And I say, 99 cada mes, $99 a month. Okay. Do you take card? They'd say.
Doing it for cheap.
Dude, like, and here's another thing with the Spanish areas. If you're in an area that's most of at least where I knock, if it's Spanish, it's super rich, super rich. So everyone that I've signed up in Spanish is like, a big contract for sure.
Why is that, do you think?
Because I'm in like, when I'm in Miami, there's like areas like Coral Gables, like Miami Beach, very Latin, like very dominant Latin, like 70-80% Latin, like not a whole, that's the culture there.
Yeah.
So, and I'm around knocking, and those people are just filthy rich. Like Connor Ibsen, a number one rookie of the company, he sold the president of Nicaragua this year. Like he was living in Miami, he signed up the president of Nicaragua. I think he had like a 25,000 square foot house or something crazy. And Connor had a conversation with him for a few hours at the table. So it's, the people we run into is really funny, but the Latins, some of the people there with the most money are the Latins, know? So I love going to those areas, and they're super nice people. You'll never get a Latin mad at you ever, like ever. They just, what I'm talking about. I don't know how many Latinos there are. And
there's everything in Detroit.
There you go. You get a mix of everything
in Detroit. Yep.
Those are my favorite people to talk to, is Latins, just because it's easy to build rapport, and they're easy to sell. So I don't speak that well of Spanish. Like Connor Ibsen, he's a better example because he served a Mormon mission and he was in Spain. Okay. So he speaks Spanish very fluently. Like almost all of his sales this summer were in Spanish.
Oh, dang.
Almost all of them.
Did he go to specific areas on purpose?
For sure.
Then? Okay.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So where do you, somebody wants to know, once again, your age with the kind of bankroll that you have, where are you looking to park your money into the future?
Big in stock market. So I trade a lot, like day trading a lot, but I also like to do investments in the stock market because I feel like that's a good place to invest. But my whole thing I'm trying to do right now is really get big into real estate. I'm still trying to learn it because, real estate is really simple, but from the outer eye, but when I start learning more and more about it, I realize how complicated and how much really goes into it. Because from, a few months ago, and I didn't know a lot about real estate, I'm like, oh, you just put money in, you get renters, you get tenants, whatever. You buy properties, it seems easy. Like you just get cash flow. And as more I start learning about it, there's so much stuff that goes into it. So I really want to have my, is that my phone or your phone?
Oh, my phone.
Right, so my 4 big things right now, 5, stocks, EcoShield. I consider myself invested in that. Real estate. I want to start getting more into like Airbnb short-term rentals and whatnot. Dude, the shoes. So this is something that, I'm pretty knowledgeable about.
So hold on, let me cut you off real quick.
Yeah.
So for anybody listening, all right, you will not catch Tristan in anything but, I don't know, I've only ever seen you in Yeezys. I don't know if you have other shoes.
No, definitely.
If you have, I don't know, do you have Gucci, like Louis?
Mostly Jordans.
Mostly Jordans?
Mostly
okay.
Jordans.
All right. I always see you when you're wearing Yeezys. So anyway, I'll segue in there. So what's up with these shoes?
Okay, so, anyone who likes shoes, you get into it because shoes are cool and you start learning about. Wow. And so basically last off season, I did all these test runs. I was flipping and buying shoes and doing all this stuff. Long story short, last off season, I probably made a little over like 10 or 15K doing shoes, which for me wasn't even about making the money, but I learned the market and I learned a lot about like the sneaker game, which like is a lot bigger than some people may think. Because some people say, well, it's a pair of shoes. Why do you spend that much money? But it's supply and demand, and just like everything else is. So this is why I have over like $30,000 invested into shoes, and this is why. My mom thinks I'm nuts. So last off season,
he's 20.
I sold all these shoes last off season. $1,000 a pair, $1,500 a pair, literally like $500 a pair. There was, and I go and I look at these pairs 1 year later, and some of these pairs I sell for $1,000 or $4,000 12 months later. It's crazy. So. If you go and you look at the first Jordans that were released in the 80s, the 90s, if you still have those and they haven't been worn, they're worth, like, I look at it like similar, because I used to have a ton of silver. I sold all my silver and kind of transitioned that into shoes because I've had silver for 5 years and it hasn't moved at all. And I saw how many shoes, if I had just saved all the shoes I sold last off season, I actually would have made double or triple if I sold them now. So I'm like, okay, and this, I've always had nice shoes, but like as of the last like 3 months, I was like, okay, I'm going to seriously go out, find a bunch of pairs and most of these pairs are $1,000 to $2,000, and I'm not going to wear a lot of them because they're an investment. And I keep it away, and in 12 months I might sell it for double, or I might hold it for 10 years, and that could put my kid through college. I don't know. Like, that's what's cool about shoes. It's crazy. Like, I'm still learning. The sneaker game is growing as it goes, but it's like there was pairs of shoes. A lot of people know, I don't know if you know of, so when Kanye West first made Yeezys, he started with Nike before he went to Adidas, and he only made a few Nike shoes, and those are worth thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands. They're like the rarest, like some of the rarest shoes you can get.
What's the most expensive you've seen a shoe go for?
$25K a pair, $25K. But that's what I've seen. I know that people have paid a lot more than that. But so I had this pair of shoes. A lot of people know what it is. It was like the Red October 2s. There's these Yeezys. I got them for like $3,000 or something last off season, and then I flipped them for $4,000, made like $1,000 profit. Right now I could sell them for $10,000. 12 months later, if I had them.
What changed that? Just there's no longer
supply and demand.
Okay.
So it's like, so let's just say a really hyped up shoe comes out. They make 5,000 pairs. Over time, let's say 3,000, 4,000 of those get worn out, ruined, worn. They're not worth anything anymore. So you have 1,000 pairs left that are brand new. And these are collector items. People who spend this are not rarely going to wear these shoes unless they're like a rapper or an athlete. I have some expensive pairs of shoes I wear, but if it's over $1,500, I'm not breaking that out, dude. Because it's like a car. You take it off the lot, it has 0 miles on it automatically. So when you keep it brand new, it's worth way more. But dude, it's kind of a test run for me. Like, if this works out well, like next year I'll put well over 6 figures into sneakers. I want to see so I wrote down everything I spent. I looked at all my pairs. And about a year from now, I'm going to go and reevaluate next off season and just see where they're all at and see where they've grown. And just because the main reason I did that is, you compare real estate returns. I compare stock returns. I'm just trying to get the most return out of my money, just make it work for me as much as I can. And for some people, they're like, oh, dude, you're just wasting all your money on these shoes. I have no idea. Like, for example, this Louis Vuitton bag I have, I could sell it for more than I bought it for. Like, because it's supply and demand. I get it a few months ago for whatever amount of money. People ruin theirs. There's not as many available for sale online, and so people are willing to pay more for mine. So it's like, it's crazy, like the designer streetwear world, like how much goes into that. Like, I'm sure you've heard of Supreme and that type of stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm not big into Supreme just because I don't really like it as much, but it's still crazy. Cause dude, I bought this t-shirt. I'm not going to wear it. I bought this Louis Vuitton t-shirt. It was like $1,500. Just complete. Like, I'm going to hold it for a few years because it's crazy, dude. Like, I've seen like Louis Vuitton and Gucci things like that they sold for 500 or 1,000 or whatever. And because they do things seasonally. So once it's out, it's done. The only people who have them are the people who bought them. And the amount of people who, like, if someone's going to spend $1,500 on a shirt, it's something, those people normally wear that. Not a lot of people just buy it and stick it in a closet and just let it sit.
No, I've never heard of that for $1,500 shirt.
But it's like, I talked to a lot of people who are like, yeah, dude, like, I've been doing this. I found people on YouTube who just collect that type of stuff. And here's the one thing I do know. In 5 years, that shirt will always be worth, it doesn't lose its value. But it can only go up. So like a lot of investments that I've made, stocks, gold, silver, a lot of things, like I was looking at my returns years after years. I'm like, dude, I'm getting nothing. Like, and with stocks, I get sometimes, but it's up and down sometimes. Like with sneakers, they never go down. It doesn't matter if it's the economy, whatever. They hold value better than gold.
Like you're selling me on this right now.
If you go and you buy one expensive pair and you just stuff it away and forget you have it, in 10 years you might pull it out and go on eBay and be like, oh my God. That's kind of what I'm doing right now.
Okay, I got another one for you. With your level of talent, why the hell are you in door-to-door?
I love door-to-door, man. Dude, here's why. Really, it's the lifestyle, dude. Like any other job, like I've been offered really cool opportunities to go do crazy sales jobs overseas and just amazing opportunities, I feel like, but none of them are for 4 months, Like for what I did this year, I feel like there's no job if you're 20 years old unless you're in the NBA or you make music or something, that you can make that much money in 6 months. And then the rest 6 months, I get to reflect on that, build my mindset, grow my team, look at what I did right, look at what I did wrong, go into the next year and make more. It gives you time to reevaluate yourself. That's why I love the off season. And you know, it's like we said earlier, it's a work hard, play hard thing. You know, you go so hard all summer, you make all these sacrifices. You want to get home and enjoy some of those things. And then by the time the off season comes around, you're just completely recharged to go back out for the summer. So that's why door to door, you know, because any other job I'd have would probably be, you know, year round.
Okay.
So
that's the
lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah. I understand it.
I
understand it.
Yeah. Oh, you know.
Oh yeah.
But it's like, I completely understand that. That's why I think that question's hilarious. Cause like someone who doesn't do door to door, they're like, dude, there's so many other sales jobs you can do.
Oh,
why
man.
would you go kill yourself on some doors?
Yeah. Yeah. No, people like, I've told them that I do, like when I say I do door to door, this was before I said, like, you know, now that you're in a role, like you can work up to partnerships, you say partner, but before that they would look at me like, oh, like they were like, they felt really bad for me. And I was like,
no, dude, I have some funny stories when I'm in the airport and I just have a bunch of expensive crap on me and people are like, what do you do for work? Oh, I'm a solicitor. What do you mean? I kill bugs. You just try to make it sound as lame as possible. And they're like, they're just so confused.
It messes up their whole world. Their whole
Dude,
world
times are changing, man. Like if my little brothers decide to go to college, they can, but they all seen what I've done and none of them are interested in going to college. And my parents don't mind that because times are changing.
Times are changing massively. And so what's your opinion on what's the equalizer right now? Like what is it that's allowing for people, and I don't have anything, well, I have what I think I would say, but I want to hear yours. So what right now is out there that has changed the game and made success accessible
the internet,
to everyone?
Internet.
Okay.
YouTube.
Yep. Okay. Right
for
there.
me, if I grew up dude, I've watched almost every video on YouTube about motivation and success thousands of times over and over. That's all I watch on YouTube. And there's so much content out there, man. Now here's the thing. You go back 30 years ago, you can only get that in a college classroom. Dude, when you're on YouTube and you're listening to billionaires or millionaires or these people who've made it, it's not BS. You know, like I listen to Mark.
Well, a lot of it's not BS.
Yeah, but you can quickly tell if someone's, you know. So you listen to the Mark Cubans, like, dude, I've been listening to Warren Buffett since I was 13. So it's like, I look at my buddies, and you know, I have a lot of buddies who go to school, and I feel like law school and medical is a lot different. But it's like to go to business school in 2020. I'm sorry, but it's stupid.
You got your computer right there. Do you have a mantra that you live by?
Yeah, and it's a little corny. Seize the moment. People normally don't regret the decisions they make. People normally regret the decisions they don't make. So for me, I want to look back, 10, 20, 30 years, whatever, and be like, I'm glad I did the things that I did. Because I think a lot of people live with regret because they didn't, whatever it might have been. But for me, it's just seize the moment, seize the day. That's why I love this job, because it really teaches you how valuable your time is. Really, really does. Like
how so?
Because you can accomplish so much in such a little time if you surround yourself with the right people and you make those sacrifices to hit your goals. Like, and what I'm saying when I'm saying that is, if you have the confidence that you can do everything or anything, you can do that. So I was raised to believe that I could do everything, and that I was capable of anything I set my mind to. If you're taught that you can't do anything, you won't do anything. So it's just the guy who says, the guy who thinks he can and the guy who thinks he can't are both usually right.
That Nietzsche, right?
Dude, this is why I love Goggins. Sometimes it's simple as stop being a bitch. Dude, I have times in the summer, everyone does. You have times, everybody does. We're all human. And sometimes you just got to man up and just do what you got to do. And then the next day you're just so glad that you did those things. But if you are at a point where you feel like you're at a hurdle, or, go watch a motivational video, go dig deeper into what your why is, think about what you're doing. Why are you even hitting that hurdle at that time? But yeah, man, it's really, really true. Like this, there's a few quotes that never leave my mind. And every day in the summer, and I say this to all the guys on my team, the guy who says he can and the guy who says he can't are both usually right.
Thank you guys for joining us for the show. A huge thank you to Tristan for making the flight out. Can't wait to have Tristan back again next time. Until then, see you guys around.